If she says, you want me to host a party for you, you can have more people, but I think that you should go ahead and book the party. If she wants to do it, get her on the books, absolutely. But then I would say to her, once it's booked, once it's set in stone, she's excited about it, just say to her, hey, I'm excited about your party, but it would make me feel a lot more comfortable if you knew about the products before your party comes around, and then you can tell your guests what to expect. Do you mind if I come over for like a 30-minute facial this weekend? Whenever, soon, so that you can get her on the products and run it the way that it's supposed to be ran. Sometimes that won't happen, but really make it your goal to make that happen. Now, if she says no, that's what we're all scared of, isn't it? We're all scared that she's going to say no, she doesn't want to book with us, and then our feelings are hurt. A couple things that you should keep in mind there. The first one is no does not mean no to you, doesn't mean she doesn't like you. It's not really even no to our products that she doesn't like them. It's just a no to a facial. She doesn't want to do it for whatever reason. Maybe she doesn't like our products. Maybe she had a bad experience. Maybe she had allergic reaction to them last year. Whatever the reason is, it's not a no to you. It would be like if a waitress offered you dessert at a restaurant and you said no thank you, and then she burst into tears, put down her tray, took off her apron, quit because you ruined her life. It doesn't work that way. She's not saying no to you. She's saying no to the facial. And that's okay. She's allowed to do that. So just remember that. Now, there are some great ways to overcome objections, though, because now if you get a no, I don't want to do it, don't argue with her. But a lot of times our objections are not cut and dry. It's like yeah, but I don't know when. Well, if she doesn't know when, go with the tentative booking approach. Now, if she says yes, but not now, I'm too busy, then what I would do is say, can we book it next month? If she keeps resisting to getting a date on the books, what I would do at that point is just ask her for permission to call her again. So I would say, here it is, it's the last week of December, and I would say, hey, I understand this is a really busy time of year. Do you mind if I call you in like 4 weeks? Would that be okay? And if she says yes, then I make sure it's in my date book and I have a reminder on my phone and with the phone number in there, and then I can call her when that reminder goes off and I say, hey, this is Shanna, just calling like I promised. I wanted to follow up. I know we talked about getting together for a facial and things just were kind of crazy at the time, and I totally understand. Things are slowed down for me a little bit here. I was hoping maybe they'd done the same for you and we could get together and you can help me with that facial goal that I'm working on for January. If you've asked her for permission, as far as I'm concerned, she knows you're calling and that there's no reason you can be a nag if she gave you permission to call. So just keep asking permission. Let's say you call her at that point in January and she says, no, this still isn't a good time. Say, no problem. Do you mind if I call you in a couple weeks? Do you mind if I call you at the end of February? Whatever seems to work for her, get her permission, make sure it happens. One of the things that you'll read in here is that a booking without a time and a date is not a booking. So if I ever ask you how many bookings do you have and you say, oh, I have 3 girls who said they'll book, those aren't bookings. Make sure you get a time and a date, and you can always change it later. Now, to go along with the tentative booking approach, when you've said to her, I'm going to give you a couple dates, or, here's a couple dates, check in your calendar, we're going to talk in a couple days. Get that permission to call her. Give her a call and then say, hey, this is Shanna. Well, you're not going to say Shanna, but I would say, hey, this is Shanna, just calling like I promised. I wanted to check and see if either of those dates had worked for you. We talked about Tuesday or Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Which one was better for you? If neither of them work, get another date set and just keep doing that until she tells you no. Because usually they really do want to do it. It's just a matter of them being too busy and there's just time isn't working for them. And you'll see some different scripts in here that you can read through as well. Now, most people are not going to call you back. That's why it's so important to get that permission to call them. You're a professional, and they shouldn't really have to call you back. If you had someone from a construction company that was supposed to be doing work on your house, you wouldn't expect to call them over and over again to find out when they're coming, or if a date didn't work for you, to reset the date. They would do that because they are being employed by you. So that's why you have to think of it the same way, because you are a professional in business. Okay, those things are very important. Now here is the cold hard truth here, and the hard facts and the numbers that we really can't deny. Booking, just like most things in sales, is a numbers game. It's all about averages. And so there's some numbers on here that you can read through on your own, but I am going to just kind of cover them a little bit. Whenever you're making calls, a lot of times you're not going to get a hold of people. So maybe what you could do is work on a little grabber that you can leave on their voicemail. You could just say something like, hey, this is Shanna, I have a question for you, give me a call, and leave your phone number. Or you could say, hey, I have something really important to ask you, can you give me a call back tonight, and leave your phone number. Other things that you can do is once I've left somebody 3 voicemail messages, I'll send them a text. I don't think that texting should be the first line of defense in booking and in any professional business unless you've gotten the go-ahead ahead of time that they don't answer their phone and they prefer texting. Otherwise, it's kind of a cop-out. So as a professional, you really need to be calling rather than texting. Texting is a last resort. So let's say I had called someone 3 times, they didn't answer their phone, or they didn't listen to their voicemail. I would text them and say, hey, this is Shanna. I wondered if you got my voicemails. Or I might say, hey, this is Shanna. I know that you might not check your voicemails. Thought texting might be easier. Do you have a minute? Whatever. Get them to respond back to you. Once they have responded back to you, you're going to have a lot easier time working with them. And so if texting is what it is, I'll take extra time and text them. But I really prefer voice communication whenever possible. And the best thing you can do is just ask someone how they prefer to be contacted. There's a bunch of averages here about how often people do pick up, but you really do need to look at those numbers and just call a lot of women. And just make your list of 30 women. You might get 5 bookings out of that. So you need to look at the numbers and be aware of them. Now here's the other thing that's really important, is that with bookings holding, there is an average that generally we find 1 out of 2 bookings will hold on their original date. So that means 50% of your classes will either postpone or cancel entirely, or the hostess falls off the face of the earth and you never hear from her again. Whenever that happens, just say to yourself, oh, that's the odds, what am I going to do? So now, what does that mean for us? If we have 1 booking on our books, and we just are just coaching that booking, and we're praying, and we're excited, and that booking comes around and it cancels, and our world is destroyed by it, we really don't have anyone to blame but ourselves, because we only had 1 booking, and 50% of 1 is half, and you can't have a half a booking. So chances are good that that booking is going to cancel on you. Now, if you had 3 bookings, chances are good that 2 of them are going to cancel, 1 or 2. If you had 5 bookings, 2 of them are going to cancel, or 3. If you had 8 bookings, now you're still holding at least 4 classes. So 4 classes held out of 8 makes you a much happier person than 0 classes held out of 1. And likewise, 10 classes held out of 20 is going to make you a lot more money than 2 classes held out of 4. So the more classes you book, the more classes that you'll hold. Double booking is a really great thing too. You can have 1 time slot and book 2 hostesses into it. I can count on one hand the number of times that I have ever had an issue come up where both bookings have held. In that case, you can do what's called dovetailing, and that's where you get another consultant who is just as good as you are, and you ask her to take over your class. She pays you 10 to 15% of what she sold in cash. You get paid for it, and then she keeps any bookings and you keep your hostess. And so that's a great way to do it. Or you can bring the 2 bookings together. So let's say that your bookings were both in the same town, and you were to say to your hostess, can you guys just all come to my house? Or maybe one party was 3 people and one party was 4 people or 5 people, and you said to the 5-person hostess, can I bring these other girls with me? And you just kind of crash the party with them. And you just work out different ways to do that. Now, if you're not comfortable with that, I would recommend taking something like a Saturday that you're free the whole day and book in like 6 classes back to back. And chances are good that 3 of those classes will fall off of your bookings. And so then you're going to have a day that nothing is overlapping anything else, but you've got lots of room in there to do those bookings. At the end of the day, you'll probably be tired, especially if they all hold, which is not going to happen. But you're going to also have a lot of money in your pocket, so that's a really good thing.